Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I am Andi Haidar Akbar. I work as library staff in UIN Alauddin Library. And today I will be the moderator. 3 minutes remain. Okay. Without chit chat anymore, I'd like to welcome our first presenter to start the first presentation. And I will go first with Ibu Zuhria. Are you ready, Ibu Zuhria?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, good. Time is yours and use it wisely.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to deliver my research. My name is Zuhria. I'm from Sit Al Khairia Mamuju, West Sulawesi. Here I want to present my research about compromising Ande Baca as ritual complementary against innumerable dispersion. Here we call in West Sulawesi, we call it as Ande Baca atau Ande Baraka. Maybe in Java, people say that it's sesajen. Introduction. Ritual is an activity that closely relates with event has to do with food and consume concept, worship and affection on things or living being. Nursham defined ritual as series of action that constantly links to religion or magic and being legitimate through tradition. Ritual is dissimilar with worship, as the first is held in daily basis. In Mandar, actually so many rituals, but here I want to tell about there is ritual for pregnant women. There is ritual for pray over the house as perceived as life spirit. Some ritual are performed for during funeral. Some gratitude prayers are being conducted after graduate from college or wisuda, or for civil servant or PNS. After test, they always do some rituals. We also have a ritual about kuliwa. It's a ritual after buy a new car or motorbike, or sometimes after buy how to say in English, kapal. It's sometimes by providing particular foods or fruit. This research, I have many research about the ritual to my how to say in English, to connect with my this research. I have write about the synthesis of Mandar culture and Islam. It is an analysis of ritual in West Sulawesi. This research states that the synthesis had take place in Mandar ritual with Islam. Di research ini, in this research, we will write about Ande Baca. Ande Baca, but here before Islam came, actually previously food is part of the offering ritual. As Islam came, it's transformed into the blessed food, or we call it baraka atau Ande Baraka. Some of my research about this ritual we have research is in Kuliwa. Kuliwa is a cultural and the identity of the local people of Mandar, West Sulawesi. Here, this ritual is for dispelling any threat performed by fisherman community. Also, we have document research in Peziarah Imam Lapeo, akulturasi antara budaya Mandar dan sejarah Islam, or Imam Lapeo Pilgrim, the acculturation between Mandar culture and Islam pilgrim. That in Imam Lapeo house, we have see many Ande Baca or Ande Baraka or sesajen. This article focus on the operated food in ritual in Mandar language, as we know, we call Ande Baca or Ande Baraka, and then we seek to observe how to compromise of Ande Baca as the complementary in ritual, but against various contests, either through social, cultural, and environmental approach. I have this research in Mandar, West Sulawesi. I use the qualitative research and through discussion, documentation, interview, observation, and collect information from various literatures, research such books, journals, and etc. And here we try to analyze by using Durkheim and Turner opinion about ritual and political tools. And the result and discussion is we find complementary in ritual against various contests in social, cultural, and environmental approach. In social, because there is, how to say in English, perubahan, so changes. So this ritual not really take place again, but just in the big event or big moments, like Idul Fitri or Maulid, like that. And then in culture, the Ande Baca it's not to be like the ancestor do, but now we can find KFC in the Ande Baca too. So this is a great disruption from fast food. And then from environment, Ande Baca, the how to say, the cover of like we have buras like this, gogos, sokol. Sometimes it's not use banana leaf again, but they use plastic or paper. Conclusion: the praying ritual that includes food of Ande Baca in community life are regularly performed by the Mandar society. This is Ande Baca need to be flexible in passing the time change either in social, cultural, and environment terms. Lastly, Ande Baca will remain exist as long it compromise with any changes. The original Ande Baca will remain exist by keep the existence of other. Thus, the ritual of Mandar remains being performed, though it had been modified. Thank you very much.
Okay, what a great presentation, isn't it? Then I will go to the second presenter. She is Mrs. Dian Purnamasari.
Yes.
Okay, seems she's in here. Okay, the time is yours.
So I do the share screen or the comedy.
Uh, you can share the PPT by yourself. It will be nice.
So good afternoon, everyone. I am Dia Purnamasari. I am for STBA Prayoga Padang, and today I would like to say thank you for the committee for letting me have a presentation in the second conference. This is my second year also because I also joined our last year conference. So I'm really waiting for this opportunity, and fortunately, I am still in the WhatsApp group, so I know about this even later. So my article is about analysis of COVID-19 from symbols, and it is a kind of semiotic study. And actually, I have a co-researcher, but today he cannot make it into this meetings, so I will present it by myself. So in this occasion that through pandemic of COVID-19, we have already known that people used to communicate through only media. So one of the media that is usually being used by the people now is social media like Facebook, Instagram, or like any others like Twitter and etc. So as we can see that through the media, we can give a beneficial impact to each other. So in this case, like the posters is also one of the media beneficial media that is used to educate people about how can we keep our health during this pandemic. So in the posters, we see that this posters has been posted by many companies, including WHO, as United Nations. So in the posters they shared, they talked about how to keep healthy and how to keep away from the COVID-19 virus. In the poster, we have dyadic sign. So we can see that in a sign, it consists of linguistic and non-linguistic sign. In the linguistic sign, it means that it consists like sentences or phrases that describe about the picture. And about the non-linguistic one, it doesn't consist any numbers, any no, I mean, non-linguistic sign consists of doesn't consist any words or phrases or sentences. So this is the example of another sign, like the left one is stop pungli. You can see that stop pungli is a kind of phrase, stop and pungli, and it means that it has linguistic sign beside the picture. And also on the non-linguistic sign at the right side is a kind of poster that has no sentence or words in it. There is also there is only picture. Here we can see hand and also money and then the cross. It means that we should not do corruption and kind of. So in this study, I use the method is qualitative research because it doesn't include numbering. So it just consists of words and also sentences. I only um, analyze about the posters and then determine it by using sentences, not numbering. And then the data are provided, are gotten from the posters provided by WHO organization. And the data are taken from the Facebook. So all of the data, all of the posters that we have already analyzed were gotten from the Facebook. And the sampling, we chose the purpose of sampling since that we need to have a clear picture, and we need to have we only pick only one because some of the data are being posted twice, so we only choose it one. And also we choose the data that doesn't consist of something racist and etc. And then these are our results in the discussion. The first is about linguistic sign because a dyadic sign has two kinds, right? Linguistic and non-linguistic. The first is linguistic sign. Here we can see that in this sorry, in this research there were 11 data actually that has been collected. WHO has already been posted about COVID-19 posters from 2020, about at the beginning of the 2020 until 2021. So we just picked through that year. So 11 data are gathered, and then it seems that the symbol here used by the WHO are linguistic sign. It can be seen from the picture on the left side. There are consist of sentences like eat a healthy diet, but also consist of pictures. That's why it belongs to posters. So here, if the poster only consists of a picture, not the sentences, it may create a different meaning. So we can say that if it is being posted at our elementary school, for example, it seems that we as a teacher maybe want our students to eat carrot and other vegetables. But because it is being posted by WHO, and during this pandemic, it seems that the WHO want to say that we need to eat a healthy diet. That is why the WHO put the linguistic sign here. And actually, these are some of the data that has been gathered. Like the third data, be physically active. Here, we can say that if there is no sentence or phrases at the below, it may create different meaning. Like, oh, maybe WHO wants us to keep running to stay healthy. It can be that way, right? But since the sentences here, be physically active, phrases here, be physically active, it seems that the WHO wants us to have to exercise, maybe to keep healthy, and other sentences. And then our next findings is about non-linguistic sign. It means that there are no sentence, phrases, or words on the picture, on the poster. You can see it here on the left side. It seems that it appears about a caption without sentences or words in it, and it illustrates about a person who covers his knees, because you can see the three lines here. It seems that sneeze, and then he covers his knees by using his hand. It means that the reader must understand about what the reader only has one opinion about this poster. That's why WHO doesn't give any sentence of words in it. And then these are other examples of non-linguistic sign. Actually, there are 11, sorry, but I only put the representatives here. Like this one is about the below one. It's about there is cross sign, and also pictures of two people are drinking and also smoking. It seems that WHO wants us to stay healthy by not smoking and not drinking. How do we know that it is a not? Because there is a cross there, red cross. Okay. So in
But she's finished the presentation with conclusion. So I'll go to the third presenter. She is Miss Ore. The time is yours. Use it wisely.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sebelumnya terima kasih atas kesempatan yang telah diberikan kepada saya. Introduce myself, my name is Irmawati from Library Science, Fakultas Adab dan Humaniora, Universitas Islam Negeri Alauddin Makassar. Thank you for the opportunity. I will be presenting in PowerPoint entitled Women Empowerment Through the Digital Literacy Literature Study. Okay, first, introduction. According to Paul Gester in his book entitled Digital Literacy, digital literacy is defined as the ability to understand and use information in various forms from a very wide variety of sources which are accessed via computer. Technological advances are undeniable in this day and age. The convenience of accessing information that can be accessed through several applications in gadgets and other technology. This provides a good opportunity for the community. However, there are still many people who do not understand about the use of digital that is right on target and efficient in this era of globalization. Based on this, the author launched information submitted by Women Rights Online indicating that there are quite extreme habits toward digital empowerment in Indonesia. Women are 50% more likely to be unable to connect online than men, than about 30% until 50% tend to use the internet for economic and political empowerment. The need for women empowerment through digital literacy, where women empowerment is a process of awareness and capacity building for greater participation, greater power, and oversight of decision making and transformational action in order to produce greater equality between women and men. The topic of gender and digital literacy has been around for a long time and is looking up over time. we can see from the many social problem and gender bias, namely poverty, sexual violence, hoax information, and so on, which until now have not been properly resolved. By him, the author will raise the issue of empowering women through digital literacy. Number two, research method. The author used the literature study method, which which is a study that uses to collect information and data with the help of various material in the library such as a book and journal, etc. The author collect various scientific literature related to this author study from various sources and review and summarize it to be later written in this article as a new scientific work. The result of various literature review will be used to identify women empowerment for digital literacy. Result, according to UNESCO, the concept of digital literacy is an important foundation in the ability to understand technology, information, and communication device. One of them is in ICT literacy, which leads to a technical skills that involve community component in line with the development of digital-based culture and public service. In general, digital literacy is how the ability to access digital made by utilizing digital media to get the information needed. It requires human ability to sort it out. Women have a big responsibility in disseminating useful information to empower other women in various social issues such as gender inequality, sexual violence, and hoax news. The relationship between women and digital literacy is far from ideal. The main issue that dominate the discourse on the use of digital media by women can be grouped into digital divide and weak digital literacy competence. The digital divide, which is still gender-based, is common challenge for all parties involved in digital media, especially for women in rural areas and the elderly. Inequality in technology education and training is also a concern for all of us where the training conducted target men more than women with the assumption that men are more adept at technology. Meanwhile, in terms of digital literacy competence, women play an important window for access to information, starting from parenting patterns and supervising the use of technology in the family. The consequence that may arise from the low literacy of women, especially mother, can result in children being addicted to gadgets and exploring information for adults. The Indonesian Child Protection Commission note that pada tahun 2017 sampai 2019 complaint for pornography and online crimes against children increased to research 1940 kasus. Therefore, women and the literacy movement are not something to be faced with, but a logical consequence when we went to see the progress of nation. Women have the same right as men in the field of digital media and must have digital literacy skills to avoid various problems such as personal data leaks, online fraud, online sexual violence, and also various other digital security, so that here women can take over the role of being burdened to be safe for himself, his family, and others. Women play a role in shaping the character of the nation. They can invite other women to use and optimize the use of the internet, which part of their contribution to empowering. So now we can see the contribution of women such as YouTuber Devina Hermawan, one of the Indonesian women who inspire and provides educational content to the public about patricide, socialism, about sex education, and health of the reproductive organs, and Gita Saputri Devi about education. Not only that, as productive women, we can also do small things. For example, after reading a book, we review writing and make it status di social media. Saya menulis artikel dan and paper and publish them. Thus, women literacy to literacy make it possible not not to be left behind and can be competitive to eliminate gender-based initiative. Jadi, adapun beberapa contoh dari women empowerment through digital literasi. Yang pertama, launch of the family engagement feature on the TikTok aplikasi. This is family-friendly feature has the support of the Republic of Indonesia, Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, and UNICEF Indonesia in recognition of TikTok effort to empower parents to facilitate smart online behavior for their teenagers. This method is able to increase digital literacy for parents to be able to assist their teenagers in cyberspace, which is one of the government main program to release this digital parenting mission. Of course, synergy from stakeholder collaboration is needed, including from technology companies such as TikTok. Kemudian yang kedua ada PKN Empowerment of Women through increasing digital literacy and entrepreneurship skill. Nah, this activity is entitled PKN Empowerment of Women through increasing digital literacy and entrepreneurship skill. The partner of this activity is the Rumpun Bambu Foundation with the target group of housewives who have no income, especially those from the lower middle class. The purpose of this activity is to provide knowledge and skill about digital literacy and entrepreneurship by utilizing technology to improve their welfare. The activity is focused in the form of Keluar WhatsApp lecture, so that the activity is carried out online through the WhatsApp group. Nah, after participate in this activity, it is hoped that participant will have new insight regarding digital literacy and entrepreneurship and be able to utilize technology as means to improve life welfare. In this activity invite women.
Miss Irmawati.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but you only have 3 minutes left. Can you make it fast?
Okay, closing. Both men and women have the same right in maximizing their potential in the public sphere, providing opportunity by not tackling the role of women who are only at home will have a positive impact on their surroundings. Therefore, technological skill and literary skill are needed in harmony so that women can develop and be useful. Itu yang bisa saya sampaikan. Terima kasih atas kesempatan yang kalian berikan kepada saya kembalikan ke moderator.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, she brought up the presentation very well, and I like it. And as the reminder, please fill in the attendance list. You can find it in the chat box section and click the link, then fill it in as the presentation list, as the presentation. Okay. After the third presentation, we go to the fourth presentation. Let the fifth presenter, Mrs. Hanifa Paramita Siswanti. Are you already here?
Yes, I'm already here, Mr. Haidir.
Okay. Okay, the time is provided.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. I'm Hanifa Paramita Siswanti. I'm from Bandung. I'm a student of Media Studies in Universitas Padjadjaran. I cannot see the screen. Sorry. Can you zoom out the screen because I cannot read? Okay. Now I will present my paper that has a title Discourse of Gender Inequality and Discriminatory Keluarga Berencana Program Implementation Against Women, a study of critical discourse analysis in the conversation Indonesia. But in this session, I will present my paper with Bahasa Indonesia. Okay. Pendahuluannya, jadi kenapa saya mengambil tema ini, wacana ketimpangan gender dalam mengenai program keluarga berencana di media. Jadi BKKBN itu selama periode setahun terakhir itu ada laporan bahwa keberhasilan pelayanan program itu 120% atau melebihi target gitu ya. Dan seperti yang kita tahu juga gitu, kalau program KB ini kan program pemerintah skala nasional ya. Tujuannya itu untuk menekan angka kelahiran juga pengendalian penduduk gitu di Indonesia. Nah, namun apakah kita semua tahu gitu ya bahwa praktik dari program KB tanpa kita sadari itu sangat bias gender dan diskriminatif terhadap perempuan. Boleh di next Kak slide-nya. Karena dari tahun ke tahun ini perbedaan tingkat sebelumnya. Tingkat partisipasi perempuan sama laki-laki itu sangat timpang gitu ya. Jadi dari survei BKKBN itu angka partisipasi perempuan dalam penggunaan kontrasepsi itu ada 96,7%, sedangkan laki-laki ini hanya 3,3% gitu ya. Dan ketimpangan ini sangat besar gitu. Kenapa? Karena penyediaan alat kontrasepsi sendiri itu banyak banget hanya untuk perempuan, seperti IUD, kemudian spiral, kemudian suntik, pil, susu, itu banyak banget gitu. Sedangkan laki-laki pilihannya itu hanya vasektomi sama kondom. Dan kampanye-kampanye dari KB pun, kalau kita lihat iklan-iklan gitu ya di TV, itu di mana-mana hampir nggak pernah menekankan juga memprioritaskan pemakaian kondom itu untuk laki-laki. Bahkan kondom itu sering dikaitkan dengan pelacuran gitu ya. Jadi dari sini aja kan udah kelihatan kalau keberhasilan program KB itu menunjukkan ada ketimpangan gender. Jadi menurut saya perlu ada edukasi dan sosialisasi juga gitu ya dari peran media. Nah, lantas bagaimana sih media memotret dari ketimpangan gender itu? Dan ini yang saya teliti dari artikelnya dari Mbak Robiatul Adelia, ini di The Conversation Indonesia. Ini terbitnya bulan Juni 2022. Nah, kenapa sih saya pilih The Conversation Indonesia gitu medianya ya? Karena media The Conversation Indonesia itu dia portal berita yang ditulis secara berdasarkan data-data empiris oleh para akademisi, dan itu biasanya para akademisi menulis di situ berdasarkan hasil penelitiannya ya, dan itu valid gitu. Dan kemudian kenapa saya meneliti tulisan dari Mbak Robiatul Adawiyah? Next bisa Kak slide-nya. Karena yang pertama beliau itu sosiolog dan dia juga dosen dari pendidikan Islam di STAI Muhammadiyah Probolinggo. Kemudian kiprahnya juga beliau akademisi yang berperspektif gender. Bisa dilihat juga di Google Scholar-nya. Tulisan-tulisan beliau ini sangat berperspektif perempuan gitu. Dan beliau juga pemerhati dari isu-isu perempuan. Next Kak. Oke, untuk metodologinya saya menggunakan pendekatan kualitatif dengan analisis teks dari Teun van Dijk gitu, dengan pengumpulan datanya studi Pusaka, kemudian juga analisis teks, dan saya sempat wawancara dari Mbak Robiatul juga via voice note gitu di WA. Next Kak. Nah, sebenarnya apa sih dimensi wacana menurut Van Dijk gitu ya? Jadi analisis wacana kritis dari Van Dijk itu tuh modelnya kognisi sosial. Jadi Van Dijk ini bilang kalau model analisis itu nggak hanya dari analisis teks semata gitu ya, tapi ada juga proses produksi wacana yang dinamakan kognisi sosial. Jadi Van Dijk ini berusaha untuk menyambungkan wacana dengan konteks sosialnya, seperti itu. Dan analisis dan dari Van Dijk itu kayak bikin jembatan untuk menghubungkan elemen-elemen dari struktur sosial dengan elemen wacana dalam sebuah dimensi bernama kognisi sosial gitu. Dan kognisi sosial ini tuh ada dua makna. Yang pertama itu menunjukkan bagaimana proses dari teks itu diproduksi oleh si media gitu ya, atau si penulisnya, dan juga di sisi lain juga menggambarkan bagaimana nilai-nilai masyarakat itu menyebar dan juga disebar oleh kognisi si penulis itu sendiri, dan akhirnya digunakan untuk membuat teks berita, dalam hal ini pembuatan artikel. Next Kak. Oke, hasil dari pembahasannya pertama ini dari sisi teks dulu, boleh Kak? Ya. Nah, dari sini dari analisis struktur makronya dari tematiknya ini sendiri berdasarkan analisis saya. Jadi teks yang diproduksi dalam The Conversation Indonesia melalui tulisan Robiatul Adawiyah itu mengangkat tema implementasi program KB yang bias gender. Dan tema itu juga terlihat dari subjudul yang disematkan dalam artikel tersebut, yaitu ada subjudul penargetan kontrasepsi hanya fokus pada perempuan. Kemudian subjudul satu lagi itu perempuan tak mendapat pilihan, tubuhnya dikontrol oleh negara gitu. Dan dari judul juga itu sudah mempertanyakan gitu bahwa apa kita menyadari gitu ada ketimpangan melalui program KB ini oleh negara, karena seperti kita tahu fungsi judul itu kan memberikan gambaran singkat dari isi tulisan secara keseluruhan. Next lagi Kak. Nah, dari superstrukturnya sendiri atau dari skematik itu tuh terbagi jadi dua kategori besar, yaitu ada summary. Ya, summary itu dari judul dan lead itu menunjukkan redaksional judulnya gitu, dipilih menggunakan kalimat tanya karena memang mempertanyakan apakah masyarakat memiliki kesadaran nggak sih bahwa selama ini berpuluh-puluh tahun gitu program KB di Indonesia itu sebenarnya sangat bias gender. Dan dari lead-nya juga itu sudah menampilkan data langsung dari BKKBN mengenai pelayanan program KB yang sudah melebihi target yaitu 120%. Dan dari story-nya juga ini merupakan opini yang didasarkan pada data valid merupakan dari ketimpangan jumlah akseptor gitu. Karena kalau dari data yang ada itu jumlah akseptor itu ada 1.325.000-an, lebih dari target BKKBN sendiri ada 1.140.000-an lah gitu. Dan seperti tadi di awal 96%-nya itu perempuan. Gitu. Next lagi Kak. Nah kalau ini dari analisis mikronya, jadi analisis mikro itu ada 4 aspek juga teman-teman, jadi ada semantik, sintaksis, stilistik, dan juga retoris gitu. Nah kalau dari sisi semantik ini sendiri, ini tuh semantik. Kalau dari semantik sendiri itu jadi kayak makna lokal, kayak hubungan antar kalimatnya, kemudian hubungan antar proposisinya seperti apa, dan itu dibagi lagi jadi 4, jadi ada latar, detail, maksud, peranggapan, dan nominalisasi. Oke. Kalau dari elemen latarnya, di sini artikel ini tuh secara latar tuh menggambarkan adanya perbedaan tingkat partisipasi perempuan dan laki-laki dalam penggunaan kontrasepsi. Dan itu tuh sangat timpang ya, tadi seperti yang di awal, datanya juga sangat timpang 96 versus 3%. Nah, kalau dari elemen detail ini berhubungan dengan kontrol informasi yang ditampilkan. Gitu. Jadi artikel ini tuh menghubungkan mengapa sih selama ini sasaran utama program KB itu sebagian besar perempuan gitu. Dan tulisan ini tuh Mbak Robiato itu menyimpulkan bahwa ternyata praktik KB saat ini selama ini itu menunjukkan ketimpangan gender dan adanya kentalnya budaya patriarki. Kemudian dari elemen maksudnya ini tuh fungsinya untuk dasar-dasar sikap dan juga kepercayaan yang ditentukan gitu. Jadi dari sini ideologi yang menurut Mbak Robiatul gitu sebagai dasar tulisan bahwa ternyata masih banyak loh orang yang menganggap peran domestik, pengasuhan, perawatan, pendidikan anak itu adalah kodrat perempuan. Kemudian dari peranggapan sendiri itu adalah upaya-upaya pendukung pendapat untuk ngasih premis-premis gitu yang bisa dipercaya kebenarannya. Jadi di sini perempuan itu digambarkan melalui program KB itu seakan-akan tuh dia nggak bisa ngontrol tubuh dan raganya gitu. Jadi kontrol tubuh perempuan itu dilakukan oleh negara melalui intervensi politik bernama program KB. Ditambah kontrol oleh laki-laki dalam hal ini oleh suami. Next lagi Kak. Oke, kemudian yang ini adalah sintaksis. Kalau untuk sintaksis sendiri, di sini juga ada, bisa dibaca aja ya teman-teman karena penjelasannya agak panjang. Next aja Kak. Oke, kalau untuk selanjutnya untuk stilistik itu erat dengan gaya bahasa dan juga leksikon gitu ya. Jadi bagaimana pemilihan diksi-diksi dan juga pemilihan kata-kata atas berbagai kemungkinan kata-kata yang tersedia gitu. Nah, dalam hal ini Mbak Robiatul itu memberikan jadi gaya bahasanya sangat-sangat lugas dan juga eksplanatif gitu. Beliau itu menjelaskan bahwa hak reproduksi itu kan meliputi hak untuk semuanya gitu, yang harus secara bebas dan bertanggung jawab untuk nentuin jumlah anak, kemudian selang waktu kapan lahirin, hak untuk dapat informasi itu adalah sebenarnya hak perempuan gitu. Cuman sayangnya
Miss Hanifah, I'm really sorry for interrupting you, but you only have 3 minutes left. Can you make it quickly?
Oke. Next aja Kak, langsung aja ke kognisi. Oke, next. Nah, dari sini dari kognisi sosialnya sendiri, di sini next aja Kak. Oke, jadi kurang. Ya ini aja dari konteks sosialnya sendiri kita langsung loncat aja. Jadi melalui The Conversation Indonesia dan juga sebagai seorang sosiolog dan akademisi, di sini Robiatul itu berusaha untuk menyoroti banyaknya partisipasi perempuan pengguna KB secara nasional itu disebabkan oleh ideologi tertentu gitu yang mempengaruhi cara pandang pihak-pihak yang terlibat. Kemudian ada perbedaan status sosial juga antara laki-laki dan perempuan dalam masyarakat, di mana posisi perempuan itu dipandang lebih rendah, hingga akhirnya perempuan itu di rentan mengalami kekerasan termasuk menyangkut alat reproduksinya yang penggunaannya sebenarnya itu tuh hak asasi bagi semua orang gitu. Kemudian juga implementasi program KB di bawah BKKBN terutama sebelum Orde Baru itu lebih ke menekankan pendekatan kualitatif, tapi sebenarnya itu sangat merugikan kaum perempuan gitu, terutama cara-cara yang seperti pemaksaan dan target sasarannya itu hanya ditujukan kepada perempuan miskin gitu. Jadi perempuan kehilangan dan nggak punya otonomi untuk mengatur tubuh, mengelola dan mengendalikan reproduksinya seperti itu. Next aja Kak, langsung aja ke kesimpulan. Oke, jadi intinya dari kesimpulannya, artikel ini sekaligus media The Conversation Indonesia pun menyoroti gitu bahwa masih ada loh konstruksi sosial bahwa kesehatan itu kan harusnya persoalan perempuan ya, tapi yang mampu ngasih, tapi masih ada anggapan bahwa yang mampu ngasih keturunan, yang melahirkan, yang merawat, yang harus tanggung jawab, mendidik, mengasuh, merawat program posisi domestik itu hanya perempuan gitu, sehingga ideologi gender yang dominan maksa perempuan ngasih KB itu tuh masih menganggap perempuan itu lemah gitu, dan negara dalam hal ini tuh mewakili kepentingan modal, terutama kelas sosial yang didominasi oleh laki-laki, sehingga merasa punya andil untuk harus mengendalikan perempuan melalui seksualitasnya gitu, sehingga seksualitas perempuan itu dianggap sebagai penyebab dari kelebihan jumlah penduduk, dan ini merupakan satu fenomena budaya yang tidak terhindarkan. Oke, next Kak. Slide terakhir sih udah, makasih. Demikian presentasi dari saya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Hanifah. Your presentation really helped us on how gender perspective in Indonesia is still a big problem. Such an informative paper, actually. Then I will go to the sixth center. She is Hijrana and friends. Okay, time is provided.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the time. I will present my paper with the title Digital Literacy for Librarian in the Era Society 5.0, Opportunities and Challenge. You can see in the content, first, introduction, second, research method, result and discussion, digital literacy, librarian in the era of Society 5.0, opportunity, challenge, and solution. Introduction. In the now era, digitalization, virtual and online become normality following current and future expectations, such as the slogan "for in the hour grips," so that the library is no longer focused on building physical and conventional services, but must develop of itself following the times. Librarians play an active role in making innovation and services for users. Research method. The research method use descriptive qualitative literature review approach and data source using Doaji databases, Google Scholar, and resources. For the results discussion, before we continue, this is I will explain about the digital literacy. Digital literacy is the ability and skills needed to understand the use of information from various digital sources, such as internet platform, social media, and mobile devices. But in the current era, digital literacy librarians required are to be more sensitive and read the situation in implementing service and providing library materials. But as we know that librarian must have skill about the digital literacy. For the first, about the information data and content, teaching and learning, self-development, communication, collaboration, and participant. Digital identify, well-being, safety, and security, technical proficiencies and creativity, innovation, and research. Issue related to library and society 5.0. First, technology-based facility are still not fully funded for librarian. Lack of involvement of academic librarian in research work. Libraries must become community sites for dialogue, collaboration, cooperation to improve people well-being. It must also provide equitable access to HRs. Librarian in the era Society 5.0 must understand the needs of users and how users can easily access the information they need in a relevant and immediately way. But in the era of Society 5.0, librarian must implementation 4.C. First, creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. As we know, in current society, knowledge and information are not shared, and cross-sector values is difficult to create. But in Society 5.0, IoT will connect all people and things, and all sorts of knowledge and information will be shared, and totally new value will be born. And with an overflow of information, the work of finding and analyzing of information desired is difficult and burdensome. Artificial intelligence will free humans of the burdensome or of analyzing huge amounts of information. And in current society, people do large amount of work. The ability had limitation and the behavior of the physically cleans in considered. But in society 4.0, the possibility open of humans will expand through the use of robot, automatic driving car, and ATC. And a variety of considers exist with respect to social problems such as the aging, society, and regional depopulation, making a service the response difficult. But in Society 5.0, social issues will be overcome and humans will be liberated from various types of constraints. But the challenge for librarian today, the application forward to young people how to more interesting than visiting the library for access the library facility online. The challenge for librarian is not only increase the users and adjust facility in this era in Society 4.0, but also a limitation of library personnel in providing service so that user must really manage their human resources and facility to balance the habits and desire of users the current era of society. And the last changes in the role of librarian professionalisms. First, we have listening skill, communication skill, and public relation skill. Individualizing increase users' interest in using library facilities in this era of Society 5.0. Uh, that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Hijrana. But now we are having the seventh presenter is Mr. Andi Muhammad Shafar and friends. Okay, then I will say hi to Mr. Andi Muhammad Shafar. Are you with us?
Yes,
Are
sir.
you already here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. You're already here. Okay, the time is provided.
Ya. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for me. I will present my article. The title is Philosophy of Science and Construction of Hospital Model Theory, Computer Mathematics course. The next abstract. These studies I'm still determining in the process of developing class learning media. Okay. That these studies aims to determine the process of developing virtual learning center area materials presented in the form of interactive model using the learning center area, virtual class in an alternative means in the web basic learning process in the form of supplement from a learning application. The virtual class application that will be made is expected to be an alternative to additional learning media in addition to books to facilitate the teaching and learning process and even useful as means of communication between student and lecturer and between students. This research uses a research and development model with an analysis, the science, development, implementation, and evaluation model. The product developed is a virtual class learning model. The result of the comparison will show the patterns and dispensed of the existing learning management system, making it easier for lecturer to choose a learning management system application that is considered appropriate for lecture needs. Introduction. The first, the COVID-19 pandemic has made education institutions suddenly organize distance learning, especially online. The second, development of learning technology using internet media is currently developing rapidly so that it provides confidence, freedom, and flexibility in exploring knowledge online. And virtual class is learning is online learning improvement. In this case, the improvement in question can be with basic portal or software. And the method my research. The research is a research and development. Research and development is a research method used to products a vertical product and test its effective of the product. The test subject in this study were students of the informatic engineering department of UIN Alauddin who were effective in the computer mathematics course. The instrument used are validation sheet, student response questionnaires, teacher response questionnaire, and learning outcomes test. The analysis technique used are validity, practicality, and effective analysis technique. And the results, my paper in future once now that Google Classroom application is an LMS that widely used for 2 semesters at the beginning of the pandemic around 73057 of lecturers use more than one application. The implementation of learning to meet the need of delivering lecture material optimal. However, the remaining 26 or 5% use social media application for the distribution of lecture material and the provision of coursework instruction. And in the normal field, the Alauddin State University of Makassar to socialize the learning sector area with LMS application that owned and development internal. In this recorded, the around 42 or 9% of lecture use the application Lentera and online lecture medium. And we know the Lentera learning center area is a space for flash for online student learning, or commonly called learning. Lentera was developed with a virtual class model that aims to assist lecturer in teaching and facilitate students in the lecture process. And we Now we can the application Lantara, we can learning uh, between student and lecturer. And the conclusion in this my favor, according to educational philosophy expert, it's used a basis for determining the direction of curriculum development and learning to produce theoretical reconstruction concept. The education philosophy is using a good implementation program development instruction of learning activity, curriculum objective, planning and use of facility and infrastructure, and identifies important needs in vocational education. By studying various schools of philosophy, it is obvious that vocational education is a strong and country basis to achieve a real dream. That is enough my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Andi Muhammad Syafar. Such a nice presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, fortunately, our fourth presenter that have missed to present her paper before already joined in this room. She's Mrs. Dian Paramita. Mrs. Dian Paramita, are you already here, right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, she's in here. Okay, it's time to show your presentation. The time is provided to you.
Okay. But I can start screen. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And thank you so much for the opportunity who given to us to present our paper. The title is Sibalipari. It's a representation of local cultural values in gender equality in Mandar society. Gender, we already know gender is a social perception or relate to the role or behavior or expression and identity of a person, both of male and also female. In general, gender is associated with the terms male and female. Gender is a term that describes the differences between man and woman in social life. These differences provide an overview of the distribution of roles and also a function of man and a woman, which are self-constructed by socially and cultural in the life. Gender in relation to the role of Mandar woman. It's a relation to the role played by Mandar woman, especially in coastal area, can be seen in their daily lives, where every morning along the Pambusuang beach, many Mandar women who are married or even unmarried as a children wait for the fisherman, or we can say pajala atau papa lele. Apart from there are many women's activities they are in the play in this area to help with daily life, starting from carrying a fodder, garden produce, and even carrying barrels to drinking water sources. This activity, carried Sibalipari, departs from the concept of the household, or we can say domestic sphere, which has the understanding the Mandar woman, apart from being a very loyal, are also good at positioning themselves as a woman and also a wife, and they are also able to help their husband to meet the needs of the families. Sibalipari, in the concept of the Sibalipari in Mandar community or Mandar society, this define an activity of helping each other, working together for the welfare of people's life, as far as decision making in the family is concerned. There is a form of equality contained in the values of Sibalipari, in which case neither wife nor husband is too dominant or in playing the meaning of Sibalipari in their lives. So they not only share work in the domestic sphere, but also in public spheres. And then they also involve family member in decision making. And then the location is we do in Pambusuang Village, Balanipa District, Polowali Mandar, Regency. In this study, we use qualitative approach and use in-depth interview and observation as data collection method. There were 7 informant who become informant in this paper. In this study, including those work as fishermen, as papela atau nelayan, and also youth leaders atau tokoh pemuda, and also traditional stakeholder atau para pemuka adat. And then the informant was varied by age and occupation. And the result we got is Sibalipari is a forum for the welfare of women in Mandar. Women are given space to participation not only in domestic sphere but also in public sphere or public activities. It's look like help with husband and husband activities as well as help with wife's activities at home. And then it's considered that Sibalipari is also able to produce from a more harmonious and less rigid family. And then Sibalipari is talking about the fraternity, atau we in Mandar we say it's paleluareng, and then it's all about love, sayangi, and then it's talk about Sibalipari talk about caring, or siamanong pakmai, and then Sainser or suku matulung. Sibalipari and its impact for Mandar woman. The first, whether opportunity to play a role and take a part in the public sphere, and also as a place to form trust in carrying out activities in public domain or public sphere, and also container to make the family more harmonious and not rigid. When we talk about gender, we not only talk about women, but we also talk about men. As Sibalipari and its impact on men, marital relations are more closely felt because of our cooperation in between domestic and public sphere. So the conclusion is the first, Sibalipari is about the culture. The culture is helping each other between a wife and also with a husband. And two, Sibalipari is form of Mandar woman idea to take a wider role in public sphere, as well as an effort to align the roles and function of men in the social life of society. And the third, the concept is Sibalipari is a form for Mandar woman in forming trust in carrying out activities both in domestic sphere and also public sphere. I think that's all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dian Paramita, for your informative presentation as the last presentation in this afternoon. Now we are in the end of this session. Okay, those are amazing presentation brought by all of you guys. Thank you for that. And if you have any related question according to the presentation that have been presented, you can ask a question by raise your hand and ask directly, or you can write down the question on the chat box section.
Hello, Mr.
Okay, Mrs. Zuhria.
Miss, I'm still Miss.
Okay, Miss Zuhria, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Miss.
Okay, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to ask Miss Paramita Darmayanti to talk about the Sibalipari in West Sulawesi. Actually, I have writing or research about this in West Sulawesi too, in Lapeo area, different area with her, but I found many saya tidak mendapatkan equality ya di dalamnya sih. Kan Sibalipari ini sebenarnya konsepnya untuk menyamakan laki-laki dengan perempuan, menyamakan mereka sama-sama bekerja sama dalam bekerja, tapi saya malah mendapatkan perempuan dan laki-laki itu malah tidak sama. Artinya di sini malah lebih banyak beban kerjanya itu lebih banyak kepada perempuan. Nah, tadi saudara Paramita mengatakan kalau dia mendapatkan kalau laki-laki di Pembusang itu ikut bekerja di dapur dan baik di domestik dan di publik, sedangkan kami dapatkan di area kami penelitian itu laki-laki cuma bekerja di publik, tidak mau masuk di wilayah domestik. Saya ingin tanyakan, apakah laki-laki yang diteliti itu masuk ke dapur, mau cuci piring, memasak, dan merawat anak dan lain sebagainya? Karena kalau bagi saya sendiri, saya malah mendapatkan perempuan yang lebih bekerja keras kalau dalam konsesi Bali Parik. Terima kasih.
Okay, that's the question from Ms. Zuhria to Ms. Dian Paramita Dramenti. Okay, please, Ms. Dian Paramita.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. And my partner will answer your question, Mr. Iqbal Arifin.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Jadi menjawab dari pertanyaan Kak Suhria mengenai laki-laki perempuan yang yang dominan dia dapatkan di penelitian itu bahwa laki-laki tidak mau masuk di wilayah domestik seperti yang dikatakan tadi. Jadi penelitian yang kami lakukan di daerah Pembusuang itu kami mewawancarai sekitar 7 sampai 10 orang informan. Di wawancara itu kami mendapatkan bahwa ada juga laki-laki atau sebagai suami yang ikut bekerja di ranah domestik setelah dia datang dari nelayan atau berburu atau menghasilkan ikan itu. Kemudian dia mengambil alih pekerjaan yang ada yang istrinya kerjakan. Misalkan kami dapatkan informan itu atas nama Kale di paper kami itu atas nama Kale, dia mengatakan bahwa kami tidak segan untuk bekerja juga di ranah domestik seperti yang dilakukan sama istri. Jadi di Pembusuang itu ada beberapa masyarakat yang mengerjakan ranah domestik juga. Salah satunya Mr. Kale yang mengatakan bahwa dia tidak segan untuk membantu si istrinya itu bekerja di ranah domestik seperti misalkan mencuci piring, bakar ikan dan lain-lain. Mungkin itu, Kak.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mr. Iqbal Arifin. I think that's all for the question from Ms. Zuhria. Okay, for the next question. Any questions so far? If not, we will close this session because we are running out of time, actually. Before we end this session, please switch on your camera, each of you, because we are going to take the picture of us. Okay, please switch on the camera. Tolong nyalakan kameranya terlebih dahulu, karena kita akan mengambil dokumentasi untuk presentasi kita di sore hari ini.
Permisi, saya mau tanya tentang
jurnalnya nanti ini.
Iya, ini kan ada katanya bilang jadi jurnal atau di proceeding, itu benar tidak? Ada kabar-kabar, ada yang katanya bisa dijadikan jurnal atau proceeding?
Ya, begini Bu Surya. Jadi nanti itu outputnya akan menjadi artikel jurnal dan artikel proceeding, tergantung nanti yang mereview. Jika ada yang menarik dan hasilnya itu memang bagus untuk ditampilkan di jurnal, maka akan ditampilkan jurnal. Tapi kalau misalkan masih kurang, masih dibandingkan dengan artikel lainnya, karena untuk artikel jurnal itu kita juga terbatas di sini. Jadi misalkan ada sisanya artikel-artikel yang tidak masuk di artikel jurnal itu tidak masukkan di jurnal, maka akan kita masukkan di proceeding. Saya kira ya.
Iya, terima kasih.
Ya, makasih Bu. Baik, tolong dinyalakan dulu kameranya. Please switch on your camera. We are going to take the picture of us. Mr. Ihsan Jaya, Mrs. Tia Dinita, Mrs. Dian Purnamasari. Okay, that's another. Okay. Second Baba. 3, 2, 1, say cheers. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyway, have a nice day, and as always, see you in the next year in the third international conference on social and Islamic studies, or ICCS 2020. 13. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.